Ian Brady, a Scottish serial killer, partnered with Myra Hindley to commit the infamous Moors murders in June. Between 1963 and 1965, they abducted, tortured, sexually assaulted, and murdered 5 children and teenagers: Pauline Reade, John Kilbride, Keith Bennett, Lesley Ann Downey, and Edward Evans, burying most of their bodies on Saddleworth Moor near Manchester, England. In this harrowing documentary, we analyze Brady's atrocities through psychology and psychoanalysis, probing the twisted mind behind these heinous crimes. Why shine a spotlight on Ian Brady? Because his crimes weren't just murders. They were a grotesque theater of sadism, driven by a psyche so warped it begs psychological dissection. His methodical, ritualistic killings, paired with his utter lack of remorse, make him a prime case for understanding the darkest corners of the human mind. Picture this: Manchester, 1964. A desolate moor under a moonless sky. Brady lures 10-year-old Lesley Ann Downey from a fairground, takes her to his house, and records her screams as he and Hindley assault her, her pleas for mercy captured on a 16-minute tape that left trial jurors in tears. He strangles her, slashes her throat, and buries her in a shallow grave. 5 victims, aged 10 to 17, suffered similarly: raped, beaten, hacked, or throttled, their bodies dumped like trash. One survivor's mother in West said, "I still see her face begging in my nightmares." Brady's crimes, blending sexual perversion and philosophical nihilism, scream for a deep dive into what makes a monster. To get why Brady became a killer, we got to start at the beginning, because nobody's born evil. Life carves them that way. Born Ian Duncan Stewart on January 2nd, 1938, in Glasgow's brutal Gorbals slum, Brady was the illegitimate son of a tea-room waitress, Peggy Stewart. His father, a journalist, died before his birth, leaving Peggy to struggle alone. Unable to cope, she gave him up at 4 months to Mary and John Sloan, a couple with 4 kids. Psychoanalytically, this is a classic attachment disruption. When a kid's bond with a primary caregiver fractures, sowing seeds of mistrust and emotional numbness. Brady's adoptive family tried, but he was a loner, prone to tantrums, never fitting in. By his teens, he's a petty criminal, burglary, theft, landing in Borstal, a brutal reform school at 16. There, he's surrounded by hardened thugs, fueling his repressed aggression, a Freudian term for bottled-up rage that later erupts. He devours Nietzsche, Dostoevsky, and the Marquis de Sade, whose writings glorify power, cruelty, and moral relativism. Psychoanalysts might call this a narcissistic wound, early rejection by his birth mother, and society's scorn twisting into a need to dominate. His antisocial personality disorder starts showing: no empathy, no guilt, just a cold, calculating charm. Moving to Manchester at 17 to live with his mother and stepfather, Patrick Brady, he spirals further, drinking heavily, stealing, embracing Nazi ideology. His childhood didn't just scar him. It built a predator who saw humans as pawns in his twisted game. By 1961, Brady's a stock clerk at Millward's Merchandising, where he meets Myra Hindley, a 19-year-old typist. She's smitten. He's manipulative, molding her into his accomplice with Sade's sadistic texts and Nazi fantasies. Psychoanalytically, this is folie à deux, a shared madness where one dominant partner infects the other with their delusions. He tests her loyalty with petty crimes, then escalates to murder, planning the perfect crime inspired by the novel compulsion. His grandiose narcissism drives him to see himself as a god, above morality, with Hindley as a disciple. Their first kill, July 12, 1963, sets the pattern. Pauline Reade, 16, is lured by Hindley to Saddleworth Moor under the pretense of finding a lost glove. Brady rapes her, cuts her throat twice, and buries her in a shallow grave. The act feeds his sadistic personality disorder, pleasure from others' pain, while his moral disengagement lets him justify it as an existential act, echoing Nietzsche's will to power. He's not just killing, he's staging a ritual to prove his supremacy. Brady's murders were a grotesque symphony of control and cruelty. November 23, 1963. John Kilbride, 12, is lured from Ashton Market by Hindley's offer of a ride. On the moor, Brady rapes and strangles him with cord, burying him face down in the dirt. June 16, 1964. Keith Bennett, 12, is tricked into Hindley's car, raped and throttled, his body still missing despite decades of searches. December 26, 1964. Lesley Ann Downey, 10, is abducted from a fairground, tortured, and recorded begging for her life. "Please, God, help me," before Brady strangles her. October 6, 1965. Edward Evans, 17, is lured to their home, hacked 14 times with an axe, and strangled in front of David Smith, Hindley's brother-in-law. Why kids? Psychologically, it's predatory selection, vulnerable, trusting targets who won't fight back. Brady's dehumanization stripped them of worth, seeing them as props for his fantasies. His methods: rape, strangulation, slashing, maximize suffering, feeding his sadistic need for dominance. The moor, vast and desolate, was a stage, a lieu d'horreur where he could hide his sins. He and Hindley took photos on the graves, even picnicked there, a chilling sign of psychopathic detachment. The Downey tape, played in court, was so harrowing that hardened detectives wept. Brady's calm, calling it unusual, showed his utter lack of empathy. What drove Brady to this abyss? His childhood abandonment likely sparked a fragmented ego, unable to form genuine bonds. Psychologists diagnose his PD, marked by manipulativeness and lack of remorse, but his malignant narcissism went further, a godlike self-image craving worship. His obsession with Sade and Nietzsche fueled a moral relativism, where laws were for the weak. Psychoanalytically, his murders were a death drive, a subconscious urge to destroy, turned outward on innocence. His splitting created two personas, the charming clerk and the sadistic killer, letting him compartmentalize guilt. Victim selection was strategic. Children were easy to lure, their disappearances less likely to draw immediate scrutiny. Brady targeted both boys and girls, reflecting his bisexuality and need for variety in his sexual sadism disorder. His methods evolved. Early kills were quick, but later ones, like Downey's, were prolonged, savoring her terror. The Moor's isolation ensured secrecy, while photos and tapes were trophies, feeding his narcissistic need for legacy. Media, like The Independent, noted his peculiar blend of moral relativism and Sade, while forensic psychologist Chris Cowley called him a sociopath with no compassion. Brady didn't just kill. He orchestrated a nightmare to feel alive. Let's get raw. These crimes were gut-wrenching. Take Lesley Ann Downey, abducted Boxing Day, 1964, from Ancoats Fairground. Brady and Hindley strip her, tie her to a bed, and force her to pose for pornographic photos. The tape captures her sobbing, "I want to see my mummy," as Brady rapes her, Hindley watching. He slashes her throat, wraps her in a sheet, and dumps her on the moor. Police found her body October 10th, 1965, curled up, naked, with ligature marks. Or Edward Evans. Brady lures him home, boasting to Smith about past kills. Smith watches, horrified, as Brady swings an axe into Evans' skull, blood spraying everywhere, then strangles him with a cord. Smith later told police, "I thought I'd be next." Pauline Reade's 1987 exhumation revealed a throat cut twice, sexually assaulted, her body preserved by the Moor's peat. John Kilbride's corpse, found October 21st, 1965, showed strangulation marks, signs of rape. Keith Bennett's mother, Winnie Johnson, begged Brady for his location until her death in 2012, saying, "He's taken my boy's resting place." The Manchester Evening News called the trial a descent into hell, with jurors haunted by the Downey tape. Brady's library, books on sadism, Nazism, confirmed his obsession with power. He wasn't just a killer. He was a conductor of suffering, each death a note in his Sixth Symphony. Brady's downfall came October 7th, 1965, when David Smith, rattled by Evans' murder, called police from a phone box at 6:07 a.m. He was screaming. Ian hit him with a hatchet, Smith told officers. Cops stormed 16 Wardlebrook Avenue, finding Evans' body in a bedroom, wrapped in plastic, the bloody axe nearby. Brady claimed it was a drunken fight, but Hindley's car yielded a plan detailing Evans' murder. A search uncovered luggage tickets leading to Manchester Central Station, where suitcases held photos of Downey on the moor and the torture tape. By October 16th, Downey's body was dug up. Kilbrides followed days later. Arrested, Brady and Hindley faced trial April 27, 1966, at Chester Assizes. They pleaded not guilty, but the Downey tape and Smith's testimony sealed their fate. On May 6, Brady was convicted of 3 murders. Downey, Kilbride, Evans getting 3 life sentences. Hindley got 2 life terms plus 7 years as an accessory in Kilbride's death. Judge Fenton Atkinson called Brady wicked beyond belief. In 1985, diagnosed a psychopath, Brady was moved to Ashworth Hospital, where he confessed to Reade and Bennett's murders, leading to Reade's body being found in 1987. Bennett's remains are still lost. Brady died May 15, 2017 at 79, unrepentant, after years on hunger strike, force-fed by staff. Brady's death in a sterile hospital bed feels like a cheat. No trial for Reade or Bennett. No final reckoning. Philosophically, he's a Nietzschean nightmare, embodying the will of power taken to its darkest extreme, rejecting morality to become his own god. Yet Sartre would slam him for bad faith, living a lie by claiming his crimes were philosophical acts while dodging their human cost. His obsession with Sade and Dostoevsky, especially Crime and Punishment, suggests he saw himself as Raskolnikov, testing if he could transcend guilt. He failed. His hunger strike and taunts about Bennett's body show a man chained his own myth. Brady's life begs a brutal question. Is evil born or made? His childhood abandonment and borstal brutality shaped him, but his choices, methodical, deliberate, scream agency. Existentially, he's a void, filling his emptiness with others' pain. His legacy isn't power but devastation. Families like Winnie Johnson's, forever haunted, prove his perfect crime was a hollow fantasy. Brady didn't transcend humanity. He betrayed it, leaving a scar on Britain's soul that still festers.